category of tourism and culture. We are going to do summary speech. We have 6 presenters, but first presenter was Sakiho Kawai, Hidaka High School, Japan. So Sakiho, please introduce your presentation and findings.
First, let me review my presentation. I made a presentation on tourism of Mihama Town. There are 2 issues about tourism of Mihama Town. Mihama Town is not known well for many people, and few people come to visit our town. I thought of 3 ways to solve these issues. First, we must know more about our own town. Second, we make a more attractive web page for people who search Mihama Town on the internet. Third, we make more fascinating tourist attractions. About this forum, it was good for me to know the situation of other countries. Also, there were some similar points with Mihama Town, so I want to make my suggestion better.
Thank you. Next presenter was Chintanapon Chandapon from Vientiane Secondary School, Laos. So Susan, would you please introduce your presentation and findings?
My presentation shows us that the environmental and natural resources are very precious things and they are necessary for our living conditions. Therefore, we should all join forces together to protect environmental and natural resources, along with inheriting the traditional heritage to the next generation, and also show us the wonderful nature's tourist resources in Lao PDR. I'm very enjoyable to attend this meeting and present about our topic or sharing comment with foreigners. Due to COVID-19, we are never meet each other, but this is also the opportunity and my special experience. I'm very happy to be a part of the forum to disseminate fine cultures and my experience exchange lessons with many participants. I will use this experience to my school and people who are around me so that Laos students can get knowledge from this forum to come and visit Laos, the wonderful and beautiful country which is ready to welcome the foreign victory and say sabadi.
Thank you very much, Susan. Our third presenter was Nyamura Raghuja Narambat, Mongolia. So Nick, would you please introduce your presentation and findings?
Okay. So my presentation was mostly about Mongolia's tourist attractions, culture, and traditions. I wanted to show my nation's rich culture sites, heritages, and natural attractions. Also, how COVID-19 has affected tourism in our country and how it helped not well-known areas to develop and how it improved domestic tourism. What I liked about our discussions were our country's tourism systems were somewhat identical, but also different at the same time. Our different opinions on development and ideas and how each student presented their presentation were all very exciting and new to me. This new experience has changed my view on a couple of things. First of all, how you need to focus on your strong points, like with the case of Laos. Laos's tourism industry uses their vast array of natural sites to attract tourists, much like my country, and how Singapore uses their land to build attractions which are more state-of-the-art and use less space. And lastly, Japan, and how they are currently focusing on the development and advertisement of their rural areas and how they are starting to utilize the internet to further increase their tourism industry by online tourism. And lastly, as each and everyone presented their presentations, my view on presenting has changed. And I will implement what I learned from my fellow participants in my future presentations.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Our fourth presenter was Airi Nikki, Kushimoto Koza High School, Wakayama. So Airi, please introduce your presentation and your findings.
Okay. My presentation summary is to introduce my town's good points and suggest methods for high school students to improve tourism aftermath of COVID-19. I found that every region and countries have many problems. For example, COVID-19 affect various equipment is insufficient. We need to solve these problems together. Understanding each other's problem is related to a good solution. My dream is to take part in tourism in Kushimoto. So I'd like to join activity or volunteer works in Kushimoto to change my town. For example, clean up the beach. I want to protect the environment and maintain the beauty in our town's heritage site. And utilizing SNS, especially video streaming service, I want to spread other heritage sites and local foods in my daily life. I pray that the tourism industry of all countries will prosper forever and everyone will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our first presenter was Chisaki Sano from Gunma Kokusai Academy, Gunma Prefecture, Japan. So Chisaki, would you please introduce your presentation and finding?
Yes. In my presentation, I evaluated efforts to increase visitors while conserving the environment in Ose National Park, Japan, through a comparison to Great Barrier Reef Marine Park, Australia. Research on the topic revealed that, compared to Great Barrier Reef, Ose seemed to lack in efforts to communicate across linguistic and cultural barriers. I suggested some ways Ose could reduce barriers and to make visits even more enjoyable, such as 1. Adding translations to online content, 2. Options to have guided tours in multiple languages, and 3. Implementing new, clear ways to fund efforts such as crowdfunding. In our discussion, someone pointed out the effectiveness of an app as used in a terrestrial environment as opposed to an aquatic environment like Great Barrier Reef, which I personally hadn't thought about. One reason that I really enjoy having discussion about each presentation is that someone always showed me a different perspective. I would use my experience with this group from the past 30 days to keep asking questions about the world around me to evaluate what is being done and what I can do to make them better.
Thank you. And our last presenter was Ko Chen Hao, Temasek Junior College, Singapore. So Hao, would you please introduce your presentation and your findings?
So in my presentation, I presented about the main problem that tourism faces of land scarcity in Singapore and how we have tried to solve this problem through 3 policies. Similarly, through this conference, I've learned much from my fellow participants about the common issues and problems regarding tourism and culture throughout the world, of how we all have seen tourist numbers fall in light of COVID-19 and how we need to attract more tourists to the different countries. This can be done through the possible findings that my fellow presenters have raised, from leveraging on social networking services to increasing resources for translation, such that we lessen the problem tourism faces all over the world. Thus, I've learned much about the culture of the different countries through this sharing, from Japan to Mongolia and Laos, and I will use these experiences and findings in my life to let more people know about the unique places and culture of the world around me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is all about a brief introduction and summary of our presentation and our findings. Thank you very much.